what eligibility means in the context of the NDIS, how you can engage with the NDIS, and what can be funded. So just a very quick run through, and the reason I was actually waiting for the PowerPoints is because I won't be actually running through each of the PowerPoints, but you can actually see what we're talking about. And so what is the NDIS? It's a scheme that started, well, in its inception was 2007, because it began with a concept that was put forward in the 2020 summit that Kevin Rudd held. And that got legs, and it was really actually focusing on the fact that disability services and supports for people with disability were very fragmented right across the state or right across the nation, and really about building an insurance system so that people had certainty about being able to actually get support if they happen to have a disability or an impairment because of a disability. So it's really about providing certainty of support, just as we have a base of certainty of support through the health system. The other thing was about actually developing national consistency, because at that time you could move from New South Wales to Victoria and it would be different. You could move to West Australia, it would be different, and you could move right around the country and things would be different. Whereas this was really about a lifetime approach that provided consistency and surety for people. And the other very different approach for the disability sector was that it was very much based on an insurance approach, which the whole approach of insurance is getting in early to reduce the long-term impact of the disability, and hence the long-term impact it has on the economics, but also on people, and hence their ability to actually then engage with society, to go about normal business, to stay and work. One of the things that sort of with the National Disability Insurance Scheme that has come about, and it was very much based on focus on disability and the supports for disability, and that the other services such as health, education, etc. would be the complementary services. So it wasn't that the National Disability Insurance Scheme would take on everything. It was that the other parts of our social system and service system would still play their part. And so as we move forward, the different organisations and different departments are still finding their way in terms of what is their responsibility and what is the responsibility of the National Disability Insurance Scheme. And whilst there's sort of great tables about, well, this is what health would be responsible for, or what education would be responsible for, and this is what the National Disability Insurance Scheme would pay for, there's still some areas of tension, discussion, and working through. But one of the things I keep looking at is I believe when Medicare was introduced in 1974, it wasn't until about 1980 that things started to run really smoothly. So our expectation of the National Disability Insurance Scheme running smoothly on day one was probably a little pie in the sky. I think the other thing to really focus on is that it's supported by both the state and the Commonwealth government. And I know that in West Australia that might sometimes seem a little hard to believe, particularly when you hear the information, the media, etc. But certainly both parties of government support it. And whilst there's some discussion between our new government, as in the Labor government, and the Commonwealth about who will administer the system in WA, be that the national system from Geelong or the West Australian system from Western Australia, it is still an absolute commitment to run the NDIS, or to have the NDIS in WA. So what is it and how do I get to participate? The National Disability Insurance Scheme basically is set up with a budget of, it started off being about 13 billion, it's now looking at about 22 billion, and you would have heard that there's just been an increase in the Medicare levy to actually assist in paying for it. What that means is that there's a total budget that can be used and it's capped. But there are specific eligibility criteria, and it's for people under 65 years of age. So you have to be under 65 years of age when you join or are eligible for the National Disability Insurance Scheme. If you're over 65 when it comes to your area, you can continue with the supports that you have in disability services, but you can't actually join the scheme. So, as I say, the critical age of 65 becomes really important if you're looking to test your eligibility criteria. From that perspective, well, what about if you're over 65? Because of the way the government or the Commonwealth government is designed, over 65 is part of the aged care system. And so that's the way, if you like, policy has directed things, and equally well how the NDIS has been developed. So basically 0 to 65 and entering the system before you reach 65. There's also residency requirements, and that's Australian citizen, permanent resident, special category visa, and there's a few of those, and I'm not going to go into the details. If you wanted to find out about those or felt you might be eligible, I'd suggest you actually contact a planner or go into the website or contact a local coordinator. And the other thing is that sometimes people think that it's only if you've got an obvious disability that you are eligible for the NDIS. What's really important to remember and understand about the NDIS is, yes, you have to have a permanent disability, but sometimes it's not that obvious, and sometimes it's episodic. Sometimes it can escalate, sometimes it will abate. So the criteria is about having a permanent disability, which really means that you're actually going to either need a piece of equipment or somebody to help you to go about your daily life or continue in employment. But the other aspect of the NDIS is that it is also there to support intervening early or early intervention. And that's to actually prolong the period of health, the period of time where you can really be totally participating in society. I've mentioned some websites there. Probably the easiest way to Google it is to Google it, Dr. Google, NDIS, eligibility, but I can pass the websites through to Sue and she'll be able to send them on if anybody wants them. But how do I engage with the WA NDIS? In Western Australia, we have had 2 trial sites, and one lot is actually run by the Commonwealth, and that's in the hills, or sort of Swan, Bassendean, Swan, Kalamunda, Mundaring, and backing out to sort of northern York, and then sort of through the lower southwest and Coburn, Kwinana, and through the Pinjarra and Armidale area. What I'm going to talk about is relative to both schemes. So I will refer to planner and local coordinator interchangeably because effectively their function is at the base level the same. For the NDIS, whether it's WA administered or whether it's administered by the national system, you have to confirm that you're eligible for it. Once you've confirmed that, is any support that you get is linked to an individual plan. So you have to make contact, either they're called planners in the national system, local coordinators in the West Australian system. So you have to make contact with a planner or local coordinator. And they will work through and develop with you an individual plan. And through that plan, you will identify what are your needs, what would you like to do, and the sorts of supports that might be available to assist you to do that. And that might be supports or services. So, and you can have whoever you like with you when you do that plan. Some people choose to have their service provider with them, and it's useful to know what services you are getting before you actually go into a plan. But the beauty about the NDIS, and some of you who have been around sort of disability sector prior to the NDIS would know that when you applied to what was known as the combined application process for funding for your supports, it was a centralised process, and once you got a package of support, that was the amount you had, sometimes for a lifetime, but sometimes it didn't change even when your needs change. The beauty of the NDIS is the fact that plans are reviewed annually. So there's the opportunity for funded support or support to go up or down depending on what your needs are. And as I say, from the perspective of people who've got escalating needs or progressive needs, that is just a critical point in terms of being able to do that review to enable that planning or to enable that adjustment to happen. Whilst I say, a note I have said at least annually, some people's needs change a lot more quickly, and in that case, there is often what I'm going to call contingency support built into the plan. So important when you're actually talking with your planner or your local coordinator to actually really identify that. So what's the sort of support that would be funded through the NDIS? It's support that is actually relative to your disability. So if it's a health-related issue, it comes through the health system. If it's related to, if you like, education or going to TAFE, obviously the TAFE fees and all that would be either private or through concessions with TAFE. But the support to attend TAFE, if that was what you were going to do and you needed personal assistance to do that, that would be something that would be supported through the NDIS. The same would be with employment. Any employment-related expenses are part of the Commonwealth area, but if it's support to assist you to get to employment or maintain your employment, talk to your local coordinator or planner about that. I said that the support is mostly focused on, I say personal assistance, but I mean that more as personal support. It doesn't have to be, if you like, the hygiene sort of personal support, but also therapy and or equipment. And with therapy, I actually mean things like behaviour support, some counselling, some training, and equally well, specific therapies and assessment for equipment. The critical thing to bear in mind is that whilst there is absolute entitlement to the support and identification of the support, the amount or the type of support is defined in what we call reasonable and necessary. So it's not if you wanted to go to the Bahamas on a cruise and needed somebody to assist you, it wouldn't be that sort of support. It would be what would be considered reasonable by the general public relative to what you need. And just to give you a bit of background there, the total budget of the NDIS, whilst I mentioned it's 22 billion, is the whole budget is actually comprised of the number of people in the scheme times a certain package amount. So at the moment, the average package is intended to be just under $40,000. Now, obviously there's a range. Some people will have $4,000, some people might have a $250,000 package, depending on their support needs. But the average in the budget needs to come down to that, and the total budget is just under 40,000 times however many people in the scheme. And most of the NDIS funding is linked to individual packages. There is a minute little bit for what is called information linkages and capacity building. And that's the sort of thing about some grant, about information about how the scheme runs, how it works, some sector development stuff. But that really is running at about 130 million nationally. So you can see the scale of what I'm talking about in terms of where the proportion of funds are. Whilst I've actually said that the plans are reviewed annually, that doesn't mean to say that your support chops off at the end of the year. It's reviewed and support can be ongoing if it's needed, but if it's not needed, then it's for that period of time. So support can be ongoing or funding can be ongoing, but it might also be for something one-off, because as you would know, if you want a wheelchair or possibly a walker or some piece of equipment, it's quite likely that that piece of equipment will last you for a number of years. So it might be in this year's plan, maintenance might be in the next year's plans, but possibly a new one scheduled in 6 years' time or as you need it. And I mentioned here that there's sometimes contingencies built in for either rapid fluctuations in people's support needs. And as I say, it's not just, or the NDIS, it really isn't totally just for people who have got an obvious disability. It's the criteria are very much around the support you need to actually participate in society and in employment. So with that quick run through, I'm very happy to take questions. And if you happen to think of them afterwards, just get them through to Sue, and I'm very happy to feed back through Sue if there are any questions.
Yeah, Donna's just coming with the mic. Just while we're waiting, I would like to promote our own STAR team NDIS business unit. They're down the back there. They're able to help you understand the process, help you with looking at your eligibility and going into planning, etc. So there's Nigel and Mark and Pranjal and Chris and Annabelle and Sweta as well. So they're just a phone call or an email away, and that, you know, they're really up